Good morning. I'm Ravi Kahlon, BC's Minister for Jobs, Economic Recovery and Innovation, and I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are gathered today on the traditional territory of the Coast Salish people, in particular the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. Earlier this week, Dr. Henry announced temporary orders to help us address the sudden surge of COVID-19 case counts here in British Columbia. I think it's fair to say that we're all exhausted by COVID-19, but unfortunately, COVID-19 is not done with us. People, businesses, and our communities have been through a lot this year, and I recognize how difficult yet necessary these health orders are for our health and safety, and how challenging these are for businesses, for owners, for workers, their families, customers, especially at this time of year. Businesses across the province have been working hard to do everything they can to keep people safe. They have been resilient time and time again. I know for those operating gyms, fitness centers, bars, nightclubs, and banquet halls, this is going to be a very challenging time of the year. As we have done since the beginning of this pandemic, our government will always be there to support those hardest hit. And I want to share that help is on the way. Today, I'm pleased to announce that the Government of British Columbia is establishing the COVID-19 Closure Relief Grant. This new grant will be available for businesses that have been ordered closed by the recent public health order. Relief grants will be between $1,000 and $10,000 in one-time funding that will be provided to eligible businesses based on their number of employees, following the similar formula that we used for the previous circuit breaker relief grant program, which supported businesses in spring 2021. This grant can be used to help with expenses like employee wages, like paying rent, insurance, and maintenance and utilities. I wanted to share this news with you today so that businesses know that financial support is on its way, and that we're committed to helping them through these very difficult times. I want to thank my team at the Ministry of Jobs, Economic Recovery and Innovation for fast-tracking this program. We estimate it will fully expense. This program will cost roughly $10 million and will be ready to accept applications in January. Eligible businesses that are already in the government system through existing COVID-19 relief programs, such as the Small and Medium-Sized Recovery Grant Program or the Circuit Breaker Business Relief Grant, will have their applications streamlined. Since the outset of the pandemic, our government has said that we'll be there for businesses and people. That is what this grant is all about, helping these businesses in time of need. And I want to and it complements the supports announced by the federal government yesterday. We've seen and felt the toll of this pandemic, and we know how much of it has been felt by some of our businesses. We understand that the news around the orders and the timing is incredibly challenging. At the same time, we must quickly respond to what we need to do to best protect British Columbians. We cannot leave Omicron unchecked. We will continue to listen and learn and respond to the evolving situation. This grant is one way to directly help through this difficult time. I want to encourage everyone in British Columbia to continue to support these businesses by buying gift cards and memberships for future use. These businesses are an important part of our local community and provide jobs to thousands of British Columbians. We need them, and they need us. So please, give them your support. And with that, happy to take any questions.
As a reminder to media on the phone, please press *1 to enter the queue. You will be limited to one question and one follow-up. Please also remember to take your phone off mute. You will not be audible until your name is called. Our first question today is from Binder Sajan, CTV. Please go ahead.
Hi there. Sorry, I'm just reading through the circuit breaker eligibility right here. It looks like the circuit breaker before was $20,000 up to $20,000, and this is $10,000. I just hope you can comment about that, but also just, I know you're not the public health, but wondering why these specific businesses were targeted. Some people are saying they've taken all the precautions necessary, haven't seen any spread in their locations, and just wondering why, specifically fitness facilities were shut down?
Yeah. First, your first question, Binder, on the previous circuit breaker grant was 2 months, and that's why it was up to 20,000. The 1 month period. So this closure relief grant that we're launching today can provide businesses up to between $1,000 and $10,000, depending on how many employees they have. As for the measures announced by Dr. Henry, I don't think Dr. Henry or anyone at PHO or Minister Dix wants to shut any businesses down. This is something that is necessary. They've deemed necessary to protect both people, but also protect our healthcare system. We're seeing just record number of cases already in British Columbia, and we're seeing it across the province, and other jurisdictions have made similar decisions to protect their system. And I'll just say that I've spent my life in gyms, and so I know the value of the gym for fitness, for mental health, and so I know it plays an important role in our communities. But just like myself and others, we're going to have to find other ways to ensure that we get our supports for mental health, that we're getting our exercise, that we're going out with our families for walks through these challenging times, because it's going to be critically important. We know it's a hard time for these businesses in particular, but today's is part of the steps that we're taking to support them through this challenging time.
Binder, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, and just it would be great to get the news release a couple of minutes earlier just so we could formulate our questions. I'm looking through it now, and it says that the grant program will open in January. So how soon can businesses expect to actually receive the money? And just with regards to previous programs like this, were they fully utilized?
Well, the previous funds between the small and medium-sized business grant and the circuit breaker grant program, we actually supported businesses with $526 million last year, which is quite considerable considering our initial budget was $300 million. But we made sure that we made it clear to businesses that if the need was there, we would provide the support. We will be launching the program in early January. Businesses that have already come through the system, for example, just gyms alone, about 1,100 of them have already accessed either the small and medium-sized grant program or the circuit breaker program. They will be streamlined because we've got a lot of their information, so they'll be able to get money much quicker than any previous program that we've had. The process for the circuit breaker, which will be similar, is very simple, and most businesses told us that it took less than 5 minutes for them to apply, and we're going to keep the same criteria for this program.
Our next question is from Lisa Cordasco, Vancouver Sun. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Will this program automatically be available to other businesses if they are shut down before this wave of the pandemic ends?
I don't want to get into hypotheticals, and certainly my hope is that we don't have to see that. But we have structured the program in a way that it can be expanded if it needs to be. And so that's one of the benefits of kind of building a system that we have actually already tested. And it helps us both to streamline those that have already been in the system. But of course, if we need to adapt, it certainly will be nimble enough to adapt as we go forward.
Lisa, did you have a follow-up?
Yes. On the nimbleness of your program, are employers or are these businesses allowed to decide themselves whether they want to use the grant to pay rent or to subsidize employees or to pay for utilities?
We know that not all businesses are the same. Each business has unique challenges, and so we have purposely built the grant, the non-repayable grant, in a way that the business can decide what's the best use. We know in the past businesses have used these dollars to provide support for their employees, and some have used them for rents. So we wanted to make sure that it was broad enough that the business can decide what their immediate need is and use that for their immediate need.
Our next question is from Mira Baines, CBC. Please go ahead.
Okay. This question is for Minister Callan. What's your response to people suggesting there's no consistency about what stays open and what gets shut down? For example, why are casinos allowed to stay open on New Year's Eve?
Yeah, again, these are questions I think are better posed to provincial health as they make decisions around, the needs to close businesses down. I will say that I know from talking to Dr. Henry and Minister Dix and others, nobody wants to close anything down. But when we see record number of cases, when we see Omicron taking off in jurisdictions all around the world, we need to do what we need to do to protect people, but also our healthcare system. And so decisions are made on what we've seen, where we've seen cases come up in the past. We've seen other jurisdictions follow similar routes, and so I would say that questions directed to why one venue to another is probably better for PHO and Dr. Henry.
Mira, did you have a follow-up?
Yes, and it's another one for Minister Callan. Businesses we've talked to say they need relief funding now, and they say that waiting until January might be too long for them. Why can't the funding get to businesses in 2021?
Well, we're just announced the program today, obviously within 48 hours of measures being announced by Provincial Health Office. Programs like this take people to administer. We had program staff, around 80 staff, that we pulled in from other ministries to run our programs, and many of the staff have moved to their ministries again, and we'll be working to bring many of them back, get the websites up and so on. But we will be streamlining the application process for every information, and we expect that businesses will get their money quite fast because they've already been in the system.
Our next question is from Mike Hager, Globe and Mail. Please go ahead.
Thanks, ministers. I'm just curious as to whether Omicron is affecting your staffing levels in the provincial government. Are programs being impacted by the level of people calling in sick?
Thanks for the question. Certainly, we haven't seen many impacts with my ministry. I can't speak for on behalf of government. Minister Farnworth might want to take that question. Do you want to take it? I'll give it to Minister Farnworth.
No, thanks for that question, Mike. I think the challenge that we are seeing is that it's not just Omicron, but over the past year, it has been Omicron, it has been fires, it has been floods, it has been heat dome, it has been a whole range of emergencies that the province has been facing, and it puts a lot of challenges and a lot of stress on a very hardworking public service in this province, and first responders and communities as well. So all of those things together have created significant challenges, but I have to say that people have stepped up and are doing a remarkable job.
Mike, did you have a follow-up?
Always. So there's no data there on staffing and how many people are off and whether those numbers are increasing by a large margin this holidays. But I'll pivot. My follow-up is, you've announced this help for business owners. What about workers? Anything coming on the rent subsidy and the moratorium on evictions?
Yeah, thanks for that question, and I'll just highlight that the moment we were notified on Tuesday around the provincial health orders, I had an opportunity to speak with Minister Carla Qualtrough from the federal government, and we made sure that our programs were fully aligned with them. That's something that we've been trying from the beginning of the pandemic to make sure that our programs are complementary. We know that the federal government came in with supports for businesses that were partially closed. That's why we are announcing the closure relief grant today for businesses that have been closed because of health orders, because the federal programs didn't support that. Obviously, there's supports announced by the federal government to provide supports for workers that have been impacted either full-time or at least even workers that have been impacted half-time. And also additional supports for businesses that are partially open and not fully closed. So we came in with the supports to support businesses where there was gaps within the federal announcement, which was made yesterday.
Our next question is from Caden Fanshawe, CKPG. Please go ahead.
Hi there. Thanks for taking my question. I just want to jump on that again. So just to be clear, the province is can't do anything to support workers at this time or the holidays.
Well, the announcement by the federal government yesterday has support for workers. They've announced some more flexibility so that more workers can get access to it. There's also the announcement of the wage subsidy. Actually can keep workers on that are partially closed. So there are supports in place. Of course, the pandemic is evolving and the supports continue to evolve as we go forward. But as of now, we've made sure that our supports are as complementary to the federal government supports as we could have.
Caden, did you have a follow-up?
I do, yeah, thank you. I just want to go back to Northern Health here. We've been under restrictions since November the 18th. Regional orders, businesses are barely hanging on by a limb here. But it took the whole province to get shut down to have any support for these businesses in Northern BC. And I talked to Northern Health yesterday. There's no clear sign that when these provincial ones are over, our regional orders will be over either. Why did it take so long to get support to Northern businesses? And will this support be extended as long as the Northern orders are as well?
Well, the restrictions on Northern Health were in particular just for restaurants and limiting them serving alcohol past 10 o'clock. Restaurants continue to operate at full capacity and they could serve alcohol up to 10 o'clock. So that was the only restriction in the interior, in the north. It was the same restriction that was in parts of the Fraser Valley for a short period. And of course, these funding announcement that we made today is for businesses that have been forced to be closed due to health measures. And so these supports are the same for anyone, regardless if they're Northern Health, if they're an interior, for their Lower Mainland or the Vancouver Island.